All right, today we're going to dive into one of the most fascinating and honestly effective ways to teach a child how to read, the Montessori method. We're going to pull back the curtain and break down exactly how this amazing child-led system works, step by incredible step.
But first, let's just start with a thought. What if learning to read wasn't this big, scary chore filled with endless flashcards and drills? What if, instead, it was this incredible adventure, a process of joyful, hands-on discovery? Well, that is the fundamental promise of the Montessori approach.
So how does it actually work? Well, the entire method, the whole philosophy, is built on one really powerful idea. You put the child right at the center of their own learning journey.
And it all boils down to a few core principles. First off, the learning is child-led, not dictated by a rigid schedule. It engages multiple senses at once. We're talking touch, sight, and hearing, which forges these really deep connections in the brain. The path always moves from concrete things you can touch and hold to more abstract ideas. And here's the absolute kicker. The focus is on phonetic sounds, not the names of the letters. Each little concept is taught on its own to make sure there's zero confusion.
So, where does this whole journey kick off? You might be surprised. It doesn't start with a book or an alphabet chart. It starts with the ear. The very first stage is all about tuning the child's ear to hear the sounds of language.
That's right. Before a child even sees a letter, they first have to learn to hear the individual sounds that make up our words. The entire foundation of reading in the Montessori world is built on listening, and it's all practiced through super simple, playful sound games.
For example, one of the most popular tools is just a little twist on the classic I Spy game. But instead of saying, I spy something that starts with the letter C, you say, I spy something that begins with the sound K. The child has to listen for that initial sound, identify it, and find the object. It's so simple, it's fun, and it is incredibly powerful for training their ear. Okay, so once the ear is all tuned up, it's finally time to connect those sounds to a physical symbol. And this is where the hands-on, tactile nature of Montessori just really shines.
Now, this right here is probably the most crucial difference. The traditional way teaches us the letter's name, like B. But think about it. When a child then tries to read the word B-A-T, they might sound it out as B-A-T. That's just nonsense, right? The Montessori approach avoids that trap completely by only teaching the sound B. This prepares them perfectly for blending sounds together to actually make words.
So how do they learn these sounds? They use this iconic tool called the sandpaper letters. As a child traces the gritty, textured letter with their fingers, they say its sound out loud. This gets sight, touch, and hearing all working together at the same time, creating muscle memory and locking that sound-to-symbol connection deep into their brain.
And to make sure the learning really sticks, they use a simple but brilliant technique called the three-period lesson. First, you just introduce it. This is simple. Then, you check if they recognize it. Can you show me And finally, you confirm they can recall it. What is this sound? It's totally gentle, there's no pressure, and it makes sure the child really gets it before you move on.
And now, we get to the part we've all been waiting for. The child's ear is trained, they've connected sounds to symbols, and now it's time for that magic to happen. It's time for the big aha moment.
This breakthrough happens with another genius tool, the movable alphabet. It's basically a big box full of wooden letters that a child can hold and arrange. And here's the cool part. It lets them build words, essentially write their thoughts, long before their little hands have the motor skills to actually hold a pencil. It separates the physical act of writing from the mental act of building words. It's a game changer. So just picture it. A child has a little toy cat. They look at it, they think of the word, and then they reach into the box of letters to find the sounds they've learned. They hear that first sound in their head, k, and they find the letter.
Then they listen for the middle sound, ah, and they place it right next to the first one.
And finally, they hear that ending sound, ta, and they put it at the end to complete the sequence.
And then they look down at the letters they've arranged. They sound them out. K, ah, t. And then suddenly it all blends together. Cat. And the most amazing part, nobody told them what it said. It was a moment of pure personal discovery. They just read their very first word, all by themselves. So let's just step back for a second and recap. What is it that makes this whole method so incredibly effective? Well, for starters, that aha moment builds an unbelievable amount of confidence and motivation. Focusing on sounds gets rid of that major BAT confusion we talked about. The multisensory tools make sure the learning is deep,
and it lasts. And letting kids write with the movable alphabet empowers them to express themselves way earlier. It's just a logical, empowering, and honestly a joyful way to learn to read.
You know, this quote from Maria Montessori herself just captures the heart of the whole thing perfectly. That physical, hands-on connection isn't just a gimmick. It's the foundation that makes reading with your eyes feel totally intuitive and effortless.
And that leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? In a world that's so often focused on screens and memorization, could this century-old, hands-on, sound-first approach hold the key to changing how we think about teaching reading? Thanks for digging into this with me.